Red, white, black, and yellow. Sort of. This is not a new concept or topic, but it's one that I have really wanted to go into greater detail for a long time now. Despite the fact that RWBY is presented to us with 4 characters representing these 4 colors, they end up not really doing that. RWBY at least has always prominently featured red in contrast with her dark grays and blacks of the rest of her look. Although, there was that bit in the middle with that horrible beige shirt, but whatever. Yang's yellow hair doesn't really work the same as RWBY's red hood. Often it feels more swallowed up by the browns in her outfit. People say you can't put her in yellow, that would be too much yellow. Even though her most gorgeous outfit was the one with the most yellow ever, how can you say she wouldn't look good in yellow when she's so friggin' beautiful here? But the 2 most important ones I want to focus on is Blake and, more importantly, Weiss. These 2 in particular get sort of the same treatment. Blake abandons her black clothes and instead sports a large, overwhelming white coat. People argue that this is actually a part of her visual development. The further she distances herself from Adam and the White Fang, the less of his color she wears, meaning the black in her outfit. There's 3 issues I have with this idea. First, Adam isn't represented with black. Similarly to RWBY, Adam's color is red. The black outfit is just meant to help make the red feel more prominent. Second, it feels ironic for Blake to distance herself from the White Fang by wearing more white. Right? Third, because I do like the idea of this concept, but if they wanted to do this transition of color, it should have been purple. Blake already had purple as her prominent accent color, and it would have been a much better match with Yang in the long run, on top of having her not just hijacking Weiss's signature color. But, on that note, Weiss.
Finally, some recognition.
Weiss is the biggest offender when it comes to losing her signature color. Very quickly she goes from sporting an all-white outfit to a gray-blue one to all blues. Similarly to Blake, I've seen arguments that this is a part of her character development, visually losing the white of her design to represent her separating herself from her family. After all, Jacques Schnee, her father who she hates, also wears all white. Let me help to clarify something. When it comes to color theory, matching colors can help people associate ideas or characters together. It's really easy to see with Avatar: The Last Airbender, especially Legend of Korra. When you see folks wearing green, you know they're earthbenders. Firebenders wear red, blue is water, etc., etc. Weiss comes from Atlas, so I understand the idea behind using Weiss's established color for other Atlas-related things. By association, we'll understand once we see characters rolling up sporting all white colors that they are also from Atlas. Well, this idea does work, technically, but RWBY in general doesn't actually follow this notion. After all, RWBY, Adam, and Raven all share the same red and black color palette, but they aren't meant to have any association with each other like that. On top of that, Atlas is the only region in RWBY that gets this treatment. We haven't seen enough of Vacuo to include it here, but there's nothing color palette-wise to associate Veil from Mistral from Menagerie. So why do I bring all this up? Well, because the actual issue here is that the creators of the show sort of screwed themselves and Weiss over by doing this only for Atlas. I understand wanting to make the Snow Kingdom represented with white, but they ended up continually using white to represent factors that oppose Weiss in the long run of her story. Implying an all-white palette is meant to represent Jacques doesn't work from the get-go because Weiss was never on good terms with her father. Yeah, Jacques rolls up wearing all white with his all-white hair and a splash of red, but to say Weiss changes her palette away from this because she distances herself from him doesn't work because it implies that she was, at the start of the show, aligned with him in some way. In essence, this idea lets Jacques steal Weiss's color palette, and stealing is the right word to use here.
Did you forget your manners while you were away?
white should be representative of the Schnees because it's literally a hereditary element that unifies the family. Schnees are born with white hair. Jacques is not a Schnee. He just took Willow's last name after they got married, and his hair is only white because of age. We can see it used to be black. White shouldn't have been chosen to represent Jacques. By using Weiss's color palette as visual shorthand to represent her father, the creators of the show accidentally stole her own color identity, because they couldn't just turn around and then change Jacques' design right away, right? They had just introduced him. Well, fortunately, the R.W.B.Y girls got all new looks for Volume 4, so that means they could start Weiss's color shift for her arc. Weiss loses her color to her father. Ironic, Jacques already takes so much from her, it's a shame R.W.B.Y let him take this too. Red, white, black, and yellow becomes red, blue, black, and yellow. What a shame. But fine, Weiss's color can be blue now. I guess that works, right? After all, her eyes are blue, and while it's not as noticeable in the 3D style of the show, Weiss's original outfit did always feature a soft blue fade. So fine, Jacques can keep pure white, Weiss can start to be represented with an icy blue instead. This is cool and can totally work. Oh no, wait, this is Whitley's color palette.
Good afternoon, sister. A pleasure to see you out of your room for a change.
This is where the argument really falls apart. The notion that Weiss changes out of white being her color to distance herself from her family stops making sense once you remember all of her other family members. Weiss changes to soft blue, but then they instantly make that same mistake by giving her brother her new color palette. Once again, by trying to use the color association concept, but only for Weiss's family, they've accidentally put her in a color that ends up representing one of her adversaries. In this instance, Whitley. Weiss's signature color was white, but uh-oh, Bad Man Dad gets that color, so she changes to soft blue, but uh-oh, Bad Boy Bro gets that color now. So once again, Weiss is in the color palette of someone she does not align with and has to change again. Well, the creators clearly couldn't keep her in prominently white or pale blue, so I guess the next best thing is to go with royal blue, even though she isn't Eris anymore and doesn't want to be a helpless damsel, but sure, we can put her in royal colors and a big ol' princess dress, because why not, right? The funniest thing is if the showrunners had any foresight, they could have actually given her Willow's colors. As the story progresses, Weiss makes amends with Whitley and Willow, ironically meaning she could have kept the pale blue color palette, since it's prominent with both of their designs. But also, Willow's signature color is a soft purple. They actually could have done this very funny and kind of creative thing where Weiss and Blake swap palettes, where Blake takes the white colors from Weiss and Weiss gets the purple colors that Blake used to have. And if they did, I think I would be way more on board with Blake incorporating so much white into her design. Anyways, here we go. Weiss sports royal blue with a bit of white and pale blues and a splash of red in her design now. It kind of matches her mother and brother and helps to differentiate Weiss from Jacques, the antagonist. It all works out. Oh wait, she looks like an Aesop, god damn it.
And that we're looking forward to working with you on our next mission.
They did all this roundabout stuff with Weiss's color palette to visually separate her from her personal foes and family, just to accidentally give her a matching uniform to the new foes they face from Ironwood. And this one is actually super annoying, because Ironwood and his Atlas forces have always been white with a splash of gray. All of Ironwood's uniforms, the students' uniforms, the soldiers' uniforms, the robots, the mechs, all the way to Cordo and her team at Atlas has been uniformly white with gray. The only exception being the tournament combatants, but they're students and they didn't have to wear uniforms, so does that even count? And yet, for some stupid reason, and I truly cannot begin to think of how they landed on this idea, they've randomly changed their formula now and have given the Aesops Weiss's new color palette. I legitimately can't wrap my mind around this. Royal blue has never been used for Atlas ever, and magically, the moment they give it to Weiss, it suddenly pops up on the Aesops too. Oh my god! And this really is the main reason I don't agree with the idea that Weiss had to change out of white, representing her because of her dad. Because every single step of the way, Weiss's color palette has constantly been simultaneously used for various other antagonistic forces. And to really hammer the point home, yeah, Jacques' color palette is all white, but also so is Winter. You know, Weiss's most beloved sister who she loves with all her heart.
It was really good to see you, Winter.
Until next time, sister.
Every single one of Winter's designs have been white with a splash of dark blue, and yet she never had to abandon her color palette, even though she also hates her father, even though she never made amends with Willow or Whitley, even as Weiss slowly shed her own signature color with this royal blue, Winter has gotten to keep her primarily white palette. So why couldn't Weiss? Pointing at any of the villains or adversaries Weiss faces as an excuse for Weiss to have to change is inconsistent at best, and quite frankly, I think this could have all been solved if they just changed Jacques' accessory colors to black. He already had black hair when he was younger. If we just changed his undershirt to dark gray and made his little red bit black instead, everything would be fixed. Because yeah, everything in Atlas gets represented with white, it's covered in snow, it makes sense, but everything also comes with its own secondary color. Remember what I said about Blake? How her color should have shifted to purple? Yang has browns, Ruby has black and grays? Ironwood, the Aesops, Jacques, Whitley, Winter, and Willow all heavily feature white as a prominent color, thanks to being close to Weiss and Atlas, but they all also feature their own unique secondary colors that differentiates them from that unifying white palette. Weiss could have kept her signature color and just incorporated the colors of her other closest members into her secondary color variety. After all, Weiss already sported a splash of red in her original design, and that helped her match Ruby. Weiss representing white means she can visually be a blank canvas. And as we watch her evolve and grow over the course of the story, the people she loves could have left their mark on that canvas. But no! They made Weiss change colors to royal blue. Oops, it's also the uniform of the Aesops, but I guess it's fine. Characters evolve, and just because it's not what I think could have been best, that doesn't change the fact that it's happened. Sure, I would have preferred Blake in purple, but that doesn't change the fact she has evolved out of her black palette to better represent who she is now. Weiss and Blake have changed a lot over the show's many years. They've evolved, they've opened up, they've grown close to each other, and to their closest friends from Beacon. And I suppose R.W.B.Y could also be red, white, blue, and yellow. They've grown, and that means they've also changed, both as characters and visually with what color best represents them. And I guess there is some poignant beauty to that sentiment. It might not have been my first choice, but it is a powerful visual shift nonetheless. Except I'm lying to you. That sure would be a lovely sentiment, except we have this! This promo piece for Volume 10 came out a while ago, and I do admit, a lot can change during production of a show, especially designs. Look at all these original concept art or first draft designs for all these other different characters. Color palettes can change a lot while a show's being developed, so I acknowledge that there's a chance these designs teased to us here might not be accurate representations for what we might get from Volume 10, if it ever actually comes out. But we also can't deny that there was clearly an attempt to hint towards the idea of a clear design change for the RWBY girls here, and it was an intentional part of the marketing while releasing this promo piece, and in this piece we can clearly see that Weiss is wearing mostly white, and Blake is wearing mostly black. So even if we accepted that the girls had changed their signature colors over the course of the story to represent how they changed and grown, they have thrown that idea out the window, and just went back to their original colors anyway. And if that's the case, that just means that they could have just kept them in white and black the whole time. Extra special shout out to my $50 patron, Just Some Major, who has a lovely smile today. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Scaring Crows, Messiah, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, Lucien, Wild Pilot, Bunkin Duncan, Hoodie Angel, Ranger, C1 Trooper, Ruby Rune, Lava Rose, Unspoken, Tyrene, Thanos, Pandemonium, Peter, Agiri, Eden, Silverheart Soul, Doki Pokey, Zappy, Wolfgang, Philip, Lalaroni, Marie, MD, Nerf Ned, Video Gamer, Middlecoop, Vermithor, Card Creates, and Cat with a Knife. What do you think? This is a thing I've thought about and talked about a lot, but I really wanted to put it all together in one succinct video, and I think this is it. I really don't subscribe to the idea that Weiss should have changed her color palette at all, because like, I bring it up in the beginning, Ruby has the same color palette as two of her adversaries, Raven and Adam. She didn't need to change or anything, so yeah, whatever. Any thoughts and opinions? This is a broad topic, but I would like to know what you're thinking about it. Do you agree? Is there any changes you think could have been made to Weiss or other characters that could have alleviated these issues? Who knows? Any thoughts and opinions? I would love to see them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.